Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour. The room was packed, the hour late, the air war already clawing at the edges of Britain's sky. June 18, 1940, the House of Commons. Churchill didn't promise comfort, he promised duty. He didn't offer escape, he offered a posture. Brace yourself. That line wasn't only for Parliament. It's for anyone staring at a storm. Tonight, we're going into the letters, the rooms, and the speeches that shaped a mind built for crisis. Not to tour a museum, to take 4 field-tested rules and forge them into your life. Because Churchill's words weren't made for libraries. They were made for impact, on bad days, on days like this. Start here. Brace ourselves to our duties. He had every reason to flatter. He didn't. He reminded them of the burden. The summer of 1940 was a cliff edge. France had fallen, the channel narrowed to a strip of gray water, and the sky carried a new kind of fear. Churchill stood up and told a nation the truth. If we fail, the world dims. But if we stand, we buy time for more than ourselves. What does that look like in your life? It's the moment you choose posture before outcome, not because you feel invincible, but because duty is a compass when the map is smoke. You brace before you see results. You order the room, sharpen the pencil, make the call, write the plan. When your mind screams, wait for motivation, duty whispers, move first. Notice his order, brace, bear, then say. First you take the blow, then you hold the line. Only later do people name it your finest hour. We want the headline before the work. Churchill knew the work writes the headline. But imagine if that voice cracked. Imagine if the bravado was a mask. It wasn't. His courage was not a straight line. It bent, it buckled. And it came back harder. Go back to 1915. Gallipoli. A disastrous campaign tied to Churchill's name. The First Lord of the Admiralty, humiliated, blamed, forced out. Shame in the newspapers, whispers in the rooms he once commanded. He could have curled inward, turned bitter, or given up. Instead, he enlisted, took a battalion to the mud of the Western Front, and shouldered a rifle among younger men who had no headline. That choice matters. He moved toward the suffering to become stronger than the shame. At night he sketched. He taught himself to paint. He wrote. He rebuilt. Later he would summarize his private code in a crude slogan he loved to repeat. KBO. Keep buggering on. Not poetic, effective. It means keep moving through the mud, not around it. When your plan collapses, you don't lose your mission. You change your method. In our era, failure is a verdict. For him, it was a forge. The rule is simple. If you cannot win today, become someone who can win tomorrow. Write through the embarrassment. Train through the confusion. Serve through the anonymity. The trench remade the man who would later stand in that green chamber and refuse surrender. And still, he was human. He fought what he called his black dog. Call it the heaviness that arrives uninvited. He did not deny it. He learned to work with it. Routine, movement, work stacked into blocks that made sense when feelings did not. If the air around you feels thin, do not wait for oxygen. Build lungs. Put hours on the page, steps under your feet, miles on the meter. KBO. Your courage will not look glamorous. It will look like another Tuesday you didn't flee. Now, turn to the sky of 1940. The Battle of Britain, when never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. He praised a small group sustaining a nation. Why did he aim the spotlight so precisely? Because he knew morale wasn't a mood. It was a management of attention. In crisis, your eyes can scatter. He narrowed them. The country could have obsessed over terror. Instead, he told them to fix on a handful of pilots defying gravity and chance. He took horror and turned it into gratitude. That is a weapon. Gratitude doesn't erase fear. It puts fear behind you so you can drive. So choose your few. The people and principles you will defend no matter what. Your craft, your child, your marriage, your health, your name. Protect those, and let lesser fires burn out by themselves. You cannot extinguish every spark. If you try, you will die tired and empty. Churchill preserved fighters, airfields, and time, not every rooftop. Strategy is the art of sacred neglect. When you wake up, ask, what are my few today? Who or what gets my strongest hours? Who gets the scraps? He organized a nation around a priority. You can organize a life the same way. When everything is urgent, nothing is defended. When a few things are sacred, the urgent becomes noise you can ignore. He understood theater too. He smoked cigars, wore the dark suit, the bow tie, the hat. This wasn't vanity, it was signal. In a chaotic time, a stable image can be a lighthouse, not for show, for steadiness. Decide what your uniform is when everything feels brittle. The jacket you put on to get to work, the playlist that marks the starting bell, the walk that snaps the mind into gear. Small rituals tell your brain, the fight is on, and you know how to fight. But imagine another pivot. The war tilts, the storm passes, a new danger appears, drifting. It is easier to fight against than to build for. Many leaders win a war and lose the peace. Churchill did not stop at victory slogans. In 1946, in Zurich, he looked at a broken continent and spoke a sentence many forget. We must build a kind of United States of Europe, and then, clear and simple, let Europe arise. What he meant then still matters now. After a crisis, you don't merely relax. You lay foundations. You translate fire into architecture. You build alliances, networks, systems, calendars, habits. You move from adrenaline to structure. This is the fourth rule. Convert victory into systems before you lose it to comfort. Don't trust motivation to repeat itself. Trap it. If you win a day, bottle it into a routine. Time block the work. Name the meetings. Put the next reps on your calendar before the applause fades. When you get a break, spend it investing in the rails that will carry the next train. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of order. In those years, he also mastered a tactic you can steal right now. On memos that mattered, he slapped a red label, "Action this day." It meant, do it now. Not everything gets the red label, but some things must. Your life needs that triage. A short list blessed with urgency amid the long list blessed with patience. Without that distinction, you drown in half-finished effort. Let's stitch these rules together. Brace to duty, posture before payoff. Fall, learn, return. Failures forge identities. Defend your few. Gratitude and focus as weapons. Then, build systems. Victory must be converted into order. Where do you start? With what you can control this hour. Posture, movement, focus, order. Before you check the world, check your stance. Before you debate your feelings, do the first small thing. Before you say yes to everything, name your few. Before the energy dips, put tomorrow's structure on paper. Here's a picture. It's late. You're in a dim room. The workload is a rainstorm. The future is a fog. You are tempted to stall, to wait for clarity, to find the perfect plan. Churchill didn't wait. He acted, he learned, he adjusted, and he signaled to everyone watching that the ship was still under command. If you don't take the wheel, fear will. He had enemies, critics, and failures. He also had a nation's spine in his hands at the worst possible moment, and the spine held. Not because he was flawless, but because he was stubborn in the direction of duty. That's all courage is most days. Stubbornness turned outward toward the work, not inward toward your pride. Mid-campaign, when the bombs fell and the windows shook, he spoke in sentences that live for a reason. They were both poetry and operating system. You can run them today. You can write KBO on a yellow sticky note and paste it on the edge of your screen. You can underline action this day on a list that matters. You can pick your few by name and tell the rest to wait. Before we press on, I want to hear from you. Which Churchill line or moment? The finest hour, the few, KBO, or let Europe arise, hits you hardest right now, and why? Drop it in the comments and tell me where you'll apply it this week. And if this helped you build a stronger spine, Tap like and subscribe so we can keep forging this together. Now, one more pass through the fire. Go back to that commons chamber. Picture the maps, the pins on coastal towns, the ashtrays, the notes scratched in a heavy hand. He didn't cry. Relax. He said, brace. Why? Because courage is a bodily act long before it's an emotion. Draw your shoulders back. Put your feet flat. Take the first call. Courage arrives after you begin. Think of the trench, mud in the boot, the humiliation of command stripped away. He could have written bitter books. Instead, he wrote better ones. He painted. He trained. He learned the pace of honest labor. If humiliation has you hiding, stop. Face it. Take the smaller job and do it well. You are not smaller when you shoulder real weight. You are stronger because you are honest. Hear the roar of engines in the August sky. Think of the pilots exhausted, 19 and 20. He could have delivered statistics. He delivered a story. So much owed by so many to so few. Give yourself a story worthy of your effort. Name it aloud. This hour matters. This page matters. This rep matters. Your brain believes what your voice repeats. Stand in that Zurich hall. The war is over. The grief isn't. He looked beyond the rubble. He saw institutions we now take for granted, not as inevitabilities, but as choices. That is your task in the quiet after the storm. Choose to build. Make peace with order. Don't only chase the thrill of the fight. Learn the still strength of structure. And what about the days when the black dog sits heavy? He didn't romanticize it. He respected it and moved anyway. He scheduled his mind like a war room. Morning reading, dictation, walks, meetings, paint when he could, sleep when he must, fight tomorrow again. Your feelings can ride shotgun. They don't get the wheel. If you're thinking, all this sounds grand, but my battles are small, hear this. Scale is irrelevant. Courage is geometric. It scales up and down. The same rule that steadies a nation steadies a person. The map on your wall may be a whiteboard with a few squares on it. The principle is identical. Name the objective, guard the few, act this day, keep buggering on. Take one scene more. A corridor in Downing Street. A paper passes with that red stamp. Action this day. The person receiving it doesn't need to like Churchill to move. The clarity compels action. Be that clear with yourself. This call, before 11. This draft, 500 words. This run, 20 minutes. The red label breaks the trance of endless, shapeless tasks. And when you're tempted to chase every fire, remember the RAF scramble. Planes go to the most threatened sector, not every sector. In your life, scramble to the work that carries the most consequence. Let low-stakes fires burn without you. Strategic letting go is not laziness, it is leadership. Some will say, but he was extraordinary. He was. And he was also a man who made choices any of us can make in smaller ways. He did not invent courage. He practiced it. He did not manufacture hope. He aimed it. He did not wait for certainty. He braced, then moved. So tonight, take one vow, the kind he would appreciate. No more waiting for the perfect war plan. Brace yourself to your duties. Tomorrow, name your few. Stamp one task action. This day, and when the wind is against you, KBO, keep buggering on. He once called to a country, come then, let us go forward together with our united strength. Hear that as if addressed to you and the people counting on you. Forward together, you and your craft, you and your team, you and your family, you and your future self. The hour you're in may not feel finest yet, but hours are named in hindsight. Do today's work so cleanly that years from now, someone can point to this season and say, that was the turning point. If the window rattles, let it rattle. If critics bark, let them bark. If the road is long, let it be long. The only thing that must not happen is that you stand still and wait for someone to rescue your resolve. Rescue it yourself, with words that have survived storms worse than this. Brace, learn, defend, build, KBO. And when you're tired, borrow the voice that once steadied millions and let it steady you. Your finest hour is earned in the dark, one stubborn, unglamorous step at a time.